We have Shantae J in the house.
Hey, the turn up is real.
Cheers.
Received. Yes.
Cheers. Take a little sip.
Mm-hmm. Just a little, I know.
Oh, I took too big of a sip.
Yeah. It's just like right there in that throat. Hold on, wait.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was too big of a sip. I might be a little lit going in, so just bear with me.
I receive it all the way.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. All right, so we have the infamous Shantae J in the house. I'm really excited to have this young lady here to tell her story and to really empower you, to really know that you are dope. And we will get into that and why I said dope, because you guys know I'm not from New York, but I try. All right, so Shantae, tell us a little bit about where you are right now.
So right now I'm in a space as a speaker. I work as an empowerment speaker. I'm also a youth activator. So I work in the youth development field, working as a consultant with educators and working basically to empower young people, which actually in turn empowers grown-ups as well. I am also working as a professor at NYU and at Kingsborough Community College. And so at NYU, teaching social entrepreneurship, incubator and practicum. And at Kingsborough, I'm teaching effective public speaking. So talking about how to talk effectively in rooms.
Oh, wow. So you're juggling a lot, but it sounds like it's all within the same realm of empowerment and entrepreneurship, which is good. So let's take a step back, because where you are now is probably not where you foresaw yourself to be, right? So let's start all the way to the beginning. When you were young, what were some of your childhood aspirations and dreams?
Oh, I wanted to be a cop because I just wanted to run. I wanted to be a detective, specifically a detective. I wanted to be yo, I'm out here in these streets running. I'm about to catch you. And then I decided that wasn't going to work for me because I didn't want to have to shoot anybody.
Oh,
so
okay.
I got in my feels about that. And then I remember wanting to be in the world of education, being a principal and then running a school. And then I realized I had to become a teacher. And I didn't want to teach. Ironic, right? I didn't want to teach because I didn't want to grade papers.
Yes.
But I always wanted to help people. And then I had another lane where I wanted to be a banker, which I had an opportunity to do that, an internship that I had in Chicago, to work in the bank and rock out in the bank. And I was like, yep, this is not going to work because I keep falling asleep. I'm a bank teller. It's not really helpful if you're coming to me and you want some money and I'm asleep. So it didn't really work out.
Got it. And you mentioned Chicago. So tell me about where you were born and raised and a little bit about your childhood.
So I'm from the west side of Chicago, off of Weston and Jackson, from the Saints, which has been named to something else, but we don't even bring that in. And so I'm the oldest of 7, which is really dope because my mom, where we lived at in the Saints, or where my siblings still live, she got an apartment there back in 85 when I was born. And I lived there all my life, up until leaving for college. So I'm from the west side of Chicago, from the Chi, right there on Weston and Jackson.
Nice. I myself am from the south side.
Hey.
Yeah, so it's good to have a fellow Chicagoan on the show to talk about everything, childhood and life in the side. And this is way back before it was dubbed Chirac, just to give everybody perspective.
And I don't really go now. So it's interesting you say that because whenever anyone says Chirac, I check them real quick. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
And young people too. Yo, don't be disrespecting my spot, B. And I break it down to them. And the conversation is less about just the name itself. Oh, well, Chief Keef said. And that means what?
Exactly.
You saying that's credibility?
Yeah.
Nah, we're not doing that. So I need you to apologize. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You right. Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of history in Chicago. It shouldn't be overshadowed by that term, because it's not a term of endearment.
Nah.
So when you were younger, you had these various paths that you were looking to enter into. You had the teller route, the bank teller route, where you quickly realized, no, this is not for me. It's not fueling my energy. It's not giving me the creative outlet that I need. And then you had this path where you actually went to school. Tell us about how you transitioned from Chicago to New York.
That's really dope. So as I said, I'm the first of 7. growing up for me, it wasn't really as fun. I was bullied for being smart. It's ironic because I was bullied for being smart, but so many people liked me for being smart, but they just didn't know how to articulate that. And where I grew up, people didn't necessarily make it out the hood. So I grew up in the hood. I grew up poor, low income, barely rocking Payless shoes that were too big for my feet before Payless shoes was a thing. Now, before Payless shoes now closed out.
Yeah.
And I wore, clothes that were too big. And it was really a moment for me, I just knew that there was more for me for life. Like it was just something in me. And I know it has to do with my mom, Marlene Edwards. Shout out to her, and really kind of instilling in me that there was so much more for me to do. And in high school, I was valedictorian. So all 4 years of high school, I was number one. I was rocking out. I was hungry. I grew up sheltered. My mom had an incident. She grew up on the south side over on 57 in Loomis. And she was the 12th kid of 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And something happened when she was younger where her older brother was murdered. And that kind of like shifted her to when she had children. We didn't get to go outside. So I didn't really get to go outside until I was like 16 by myself. So once I was like 14, I started working. I got my learner's permit, my work permit, and I started working. And that kind of like propelled me to be exposed to things in Chicago. So it's like, oh, I got a job. I can go down here, get on the bus. It was just down the street, but it was major for me.
Yeah.
And that kind of like built up this whole thing of coming from where I come from to then eventually coming to New York. Because before New York had come, it was college, which was always a thing for me. But I quickly understood that I went to this program called College Summit, which is now called Peer Forward, and as a rising senior in high school, and I was the only one from my school. So I've always been the only one. And so I went to the program, and at first I was like, yeah, I'm going to New York. I'm going to work at, and I'm going to go to school at NYU. And I remember being in that particular program, and they're making me realize that it was going to cost to go back and forth. People sometimes get homesick. Like I was being exposed to a lot of things that we weren't talking about in my school. We weren't talking about with the counselors. Though I was number one, I was number one in rocking as valedictorian. I was still in a sense where I was lost, but I knew that there was more than the hood, right?
Yeah.
Never judging my peers, never judging my friends. Like we rocked together, but it was more for me. Something else was like yearning, like this curiosity. And that kind of what sparked me to leave Chicago and eventually go 2 hours south, down to U of I. So I attended college, and again, first, right? So first to go away to school, first to be in college. I applied on my own. I filled out the financial aid on my own because my mom didn't know. And I never knocked her for it because I was always curious. Like I would always ask questions like, what is this? Or what is this? Or what is this? And so because of College Summit opportunity and being exposed to this like level of college access, I was hungry to go to school. So I went down to U of I, and at the time it was few West Siders at U of I. It was really like South Side held it down. You know, because in growing up, it was like people from the West Side didn't go to school. And I never realized that. Like I was so oblivious to the thing that people really didn't even make it out of high school as often, and what that meant for me. And so kind of fast forward, went to college, rocked out in college. College was tough for me, again, being the first. My mom was diagnosed with cancer, with breast cancer when I was in high school, and it only got worse when I was in college. And being 2 hours south, again, I knew there was more. So I was hungry. And in college, I was exposed to more things and access because I was curious. I tried everything, and I worked all the time. Like I remember working like 3 jobs and taking 17 hours. But again, I'm hungry. So post-college came DC. So before New York, there was DC. And DC was an opportunity for me to explore outside of Illinois and like get out of Chicago. Like I really wanted to go. So I left DC. Right before I left DC, actually, I was selected to do Teach for America in Chicago, which was very rare for people from Chicago at the time to get placed in Chicago. And I decided to go and defer that and go to DC for an internship that blossomed into a full-time job.
Nice.
So the College Summit thing that I did in the high school, they were also the opportunity that helped me get out of Chicago and work as an intern and then do that over the summer and get a full-time job. Fast forward, I was in DC for about 5.5 years. did some work with College Summit, worked for them, and then worked in another nonprofit, and then transitioned to New York. And New York came about because in 2013, excuse me. Excuse me.
You're fine.
In 2013, December 7th, 2013, my mom passed away.
Mm.
And what was so game-changing was that I've always wanted to come to New York, right? So even as a kid in high school, I wanted to come to New York. And November, like the weekend before Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving in 2013, my mom had come to visit me. And it was so game-changing because my mom had never flown. Like, here I am flying here, there, all my life, and her meeting me at airports, but she had never been on a plane. And so she finally agreed. We hung out in D.C. for like 4 days. Just her and I in my place. We're taking her here, taking her there. It was really game-changing because she got to see my life, right?
Yeah.
I come from the hood. I come from being the poor. My family was still poor at the time. They still didn't have money, and kind of like me in this middle class income, it shifted the conversation. So here I am showing my mom, like, look at this, Mom. Check it out, check it out, check it out. Hey, we got to go here. We're going to go to the White House.
Yeah.
Obama's still president. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Oh, we got to hang out. Oh, Busboys and Poets. I got you, boo. And so it was really amazing. And then I remember her leaving, and it was so dope. And then 13 days later, she passed away.
Mm.
And that just like messed me up.
And this was 2013.
13.
Okay.
2013, December 7, 2013, she passed away unexpectedly. And I was just in a space where I couldn't like exist really in DC for too long. I tried to rock it out, but a month and a half after my mom passed away, my apartment flooded and I was homeless for 45 days.
Wow.
And so here I am going through this thing. I finally get a spot in March and I'm like, yo, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't. It was just becoming too hard. And so the company that I was working for then, I hollered at them at the time. It was really, really good conversation about, look, I gotta go. Like, I can't keep doing this. The headquarters was in New York. And I was like, yo, let me come to New York. Here I am. Boom, New York. And what is it? 4 years now? September 15th, 2014. Yep, was when I moved here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you went from having various routes that you could take to like going to college, figuring out the logistics of getting in, like once you were accepted, how do I pay for college? How do I understand financial aid, student loans, which I think there should be more classes on that. Because I was the same way when I went to UNC Charlotte, you know, trying to figure all that out. But then you were also juggling an emotional aspect of your world with your mom still dealing with the breast cancer. Then you have this great opportunity with Peer Forward.
College Summit. Yeah.
Where it takes you essentially from high school to college through exposing you to people who are actually been there, done that, and they want to give back, to actually giving you your first opportunity to essentially leave Illinois.
Yeah.
That's so powerful, because I think people think, okay, I have my life planned out. I know exactly what I want to do. But at the same time, if you're not exposed to opportunities, you don't know that they exist. If you're not exposed to the people who can like help you and kind of like guide you, you don't know that those opportunities exist, which I think is really fascinating.
And to your point, and just like I want to point something out too about exposure and access, and that's what I'm about.
Yeah.
College Summit happened because your girl was a junior in high school, and I asked questions. I always ask questions. And I was working this receptionist job downtown on State in Jackson. And I remember going through FastWeb at the time, looking at scholarships. And I saw this thing called Chicago Scholars, which is now Scholarship Chicago. It was called Chicago. No, it was called Scholarship Chicago. Now it's Chicago Scholars. And it was a scholarship opportunity. And I called them, and the application was due that day. They gave me an extension to that following Monday, and I was still using typewriters at the time.
Oh, wow.
Yo, it was then, right? And so I remember asking the question to them, like, hey, it was on a Friday, it was due. I was like, can I get until Monday? I had no idea where I was going to get a typewriter from. I just knew. And at the end of the day, basically my point is that God has been my foundation. So like shifting from that phone call that led to me doing the program, then led to me connecting to these folks, then going to college, and then this, and that, shifting those gears, you're right, with the narrative being able to change.
Yeah, and I like the fact that even when you're in DC, like you're giving your mom that opportunity to know that you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like giving her peace of mind,
Yeah.
because I imagine as a parent, I'm not a parent, but as a parent or someone that loves someone deeply, it's important for them to know that you're okay.
You're okay. Yeah.
So you had the ability to not only get her on her first flight, but then to also show her and expose her to something that she probably has never seen before.
Definitely.
Like being from Chicago like that. Like if she had you all protected in the house, she probably felt that she wasn't going to be able to protect you outside of the house.
Facts.
Because of her brother, right? So you had some struggle points, not even struggle points, you had some growth points.
Facts.
In DC, and that took you to New York. When you were in New York, like how did you essentially get here to the point where you are right now?
Excuse me. God. Shout out to him. G-O-D, you know what I mean? The universe be working for me. Bars. So what happened was that, I made a request, right? I asked the company that I was working for then about the opportunity to get to New York, right? Got to New York and was still working for the company. And then 2 years in of being in New York and 4 years in and being with the company, I didn't want to do it anymore. Right? So the work that I was doing was not fulfilling me anymore. And I felt like there was more, but I couldn't see past that. Yeah. And so to be in a space in 2016 where like fresh a year and a half in New York City working, but I'm like not feeling the vibe anymore. It wasn't challenging me. There was so much more that I was exposed to being here in New York, right? So from culture to like, people out here in these streets being freelancers, doing what they do, and they still get to make money, and they still get to sleep, and they're trying to eat, but they don't have a 9 to 5. Right? And in my growing up, a 9 to 5 was my base point. So going back to when I was younger, what I saw on TV, I just knew I had to work a 9 to 5. A 9 to 5 was going to get me the health benefits. It was going to support me with having the money, the 401k, because I always had to think about, I chose to think about my family. Because, if I'm out, then they got to be out. I got to create paths. I got to do all this type of stuff. But it's going back to money. And money always being the motivator. And what happened to me being here now is in the past, like 3 years of transitioning from the company I used to work for that got me here, it was like breakthrough points of understanding that my purpose was bigger than what I was really at the time ready for. And now being a speaker, right? So I'm leading and saying I'm a speaker. My gift is speaking. I will communicate my ASS off to you in ways I will break that down, right? The other thing that I had to realize is that I have a gift for young people. I love them. And I want to see them every day. However, give me some hit it and quit it. I got you, boo. You know what I mean? And then I go back to when I was in high school and I wanted to be a principal or a counselor. I always used to say, I even did a master's program for a little bit at Loyola University in Maryland when I was in D.C. To be a counselor. And I remember saying to myself, I don't want to work with the kids. I want to work with the people that work with the kids. Right. And so in 2014, I instead shifted that because I was always like heavy with education and nonprofit. And in DC, it was heavy. It was saturated with nonprofit. Everybody got a nonprofit. Everybody worked for a nonprofit of the government. And so that had become my identity because it was my formative years. Shifting that, though, and being in New York, I was like, wait, I want to do something else. And so before moving to New York, I got my MBA. I was working on my MBA when I was in DC because I was like, I'm ready to get some business. I need some money. I need some money. My mom had just passed. My siblings needed me at the time. My brother was incarcerated. It was like, I need money, and so that was like that deep voice in, like that was driving me. But being where I am now in a space where I can say, so by the way, I'm a speaker. Oh, really? Motivational? Yeah, empowerment. Yeah, I can do it all. And I'm a youth activator. Give me any type of room, put me in any type of room. I got you. I'm also a passion pusher, right? I'm all about purpose and you standing in your truth. And then finally, what also happened for me is in 2016, I did a TEDx talk.
Yes.
You are enough. And
that's what kind of like launched everything.
Man, because I started like looking, I was writing it at the top of the year. Initially, I was asked to do the TEDx talk for the youth version. And then I got shifted to do it for the main stage. And at the top of that year in 2016, I was writing. I'm like, yeah, you are enough. Your biggest critic, your biggest cheerleader. Damn, I'm a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
right? And a part of who I am when it comes down to values and morals is that my biggest thing is fairness and integrity. I can't be out here telling you you are enough and go do you and be your biggest cheerleader if I'm over here looking in the mirror and saying, damn, I don't think I'm enough.
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm beautiful enough, or I'm smart enough, or I can't do that, I can't do that. And I had gone through a lot of things in my life where, again, being here in 2016, I had to face me. Which is interesting because I just got finished reading the 4 Agreements and talking about how everybody's out here lying and pretending to be somebody that they're not. Mm-hmm. And at the time, that's what I was doing. And to get here and now in this moment and saying, I'm a speaker, I'm a facilitator, I'm a professor, aspiring author, holla at your girl. You know what I mean? I'm out here trying to make things happen. But at the core of what I do, I make space for you to share your story and be empowered by who you are. Yeah, design safe spaces.
I love it because it sounds like New York kind of opens you up for
Hell
more
yeah.
experiences, because the energy here is like none other as far as like being surrounded by ambitious people and just seeing like I said, exposure and access, right? Like you're exposed to people who are hustling, you're exposed to people who are trying to build things and create things, but you're also seeing the access that they have through their 9-to-5 or outside of their 9-to-5 from their networks and the relationships that they've built.
And that's, I agree with you. Because in DC, like, I have a lot of people. I know a lot of people know me. Let me just say I love y'all. I love y'all. I love the way they love me. Oh, my gosh. I've been in a part of a lot of affinity groups. Let's say it like that, right? Yeah. So rocking out in different affinity groups has allowed me access to so many different people. Mm-hmm. And even in hood, like not even where I come from the neighborhood, I've been able to keep in contact with folks who have seen me since I was just little baby, right? Yeah. And so going back to the whole thing and the premise around social capital, New York was like, yo, hey, you got something? Make something happen. And what I always tell people, like, oh, what's the difference? You've been in Chicago, you've been in DC, you've been in New York. I'm saying, New York, if you're from New York and you've been in New York for a while, if you have a dream, you're going to make it happen.
Yep.
Period. There's no comma. You want to do something, and that's what I respect about people who are native New Yorkers and those who have lived here for a long time. In DC, shout out to DC because I love y'all and I'm gonna see y'all soon. I want to say DC was necessary for me. Let me say it again. DC was necessary for me as to formulate me as a professional. Yeah. So brunches and happy hours, blazers and conversations, who you are as you walk in the room, networking and asking you, so what do you do? And me shifting conversations and saying, so how are you changing the world? Yeah. You know, being in spaces where I felt important because I was really riding on credibility. New York is like, I don't care who the hell you are. Shit. You know? Oh, you doing that? All right, cool. My homie over there doing the same thing. So what, I'm saying, you know, what makes you different?
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like coming to New York, it really helped you open your eyes to yourself.
Facts.
Right? Because even with the TED Talk, as you're writing it, you're like, dang, this is really powerful stuff, but am I implementing what I'm trying to share for others?
Facts.
Which is really interesting. Talk to us a little bit about how you deal with your mental health, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're doing a lot. You have your company, I Am Dope. You have your consulting aspect, but then your adjunct professor at 2 different universities. Yeah. As well as like everything else that you do.
Facts.
So how do you balance that, but then make sure that you're taking care of your mental health as well?
Facts. Well, that's an amazing question, Brittany. So let me throw it back a little second, because before I got to here, I was somewhere else that was hella busy. Mm-hmm. And hella busy, just not necessarily being as productive. I was just busy. Mm-hmm. So I've been busy since I was 14. You know, that was always the thing. Shantae, what you doing? Are you busy? Yeah, I'm busy. Just busy as hell, doing nothing. Yeah. And it wasn't until last year, 2018, where I had to stop. Because for 10 years, I had been suffering from pain in my body. Mm-hmm. And this pain was in my back, and it hurt. I couldn't sit for too long. I couldn't stand for too long. I couldn't do certain activities physically. I was in pain. And because of that pain, it shifted how I was moving. And I just, again, wanted to be a part of everything because I was looking for credibility. I wanted you to see me. Like, I want y'all to see me. I'm out here. Just trying to check off, not having any type of plan, even though I'm a planner, but not really no alignment to where I was going. And so that throwback, I wanted to bring that up because it shifted when I had my surgery at the top in January. And the surgery was to remove, or I would say release, my fibroids. And so in releasing that, it supported my back and really helping me now to feel like I'm invincible. Getting prepared for that surgery is what helped me with my mental. So in July of 2018, I had decided, actually June of 2018, I decided that July I was going to take a break. I was going to take a break from social media. I was going to take a break from the world because I'm always out here doing the most, trying to be this, trying to do that. Let me start this podcast. Ooh, let me do that speaking gig. Ooh, I'm going to do that for free, but not really taking the time for me. And what I had learned with my mom in all her years of living was that I felt like she didn't really get enough time to herself.
Yeah.
She didn't, raising 7 children very, very successfully where we never felt neglected. And she was all of our best friends, let us tell you. And then so many other people. And so in being a reflection for her and wanting to also a reflection of her and wanting to live a longer life, I had to realize something. Yo, I got to take a break.
Yes.
Yeah. And the mental health part, the wellness as a whole, right? So physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally had always been a concern, but not a priority. So you know how they say people make time what they want to make time for. Facts. And that was, I wasn't making time for me.
Yeah.
I was too busy, air quotes, trying to create this identity because I was pretending. I was lying to myself. I was so caught up in everything else and being remembered that I didn't really take the moment to think, okay, Shantae, what about you? And so when I was preparing for the surgery that was set for December of 2018, I had to start taking it slow. I had to start shifting, like, I'm getting a major surgery. I've never had a major surgery.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I'm getting a major surgery, And so kind of like really processing that I had to choose to get a therapist. And I had a therapist before, and I learned that like our relationship just didn't work out. We were good to each other for the time that we had each other. And that was back in 2016. And I didn't realize the importance of, again, making time for myself. We didn't work out because I wasn't really committed to our schedule, our appointments. I was late, I was just not working out. Yeah. So I looked in August for a therapist, and I ended up going, I did the whole like, was it Therapy for Black Girls?
Yeah.
I did that. And then from there, someone recommended Psychology Today. And that's where I found my therapist. And in August, I made the leap. Like I started working to support this busy idea and really clarity for me. Because the other thing was that I was taking on so many other people's lives that I wasn't really clear about what my life was and the alignment. I was also battling with, you can only do one thing in the world, right? So you can only have one job. But in reality, there are people who are multi-passionate and they can juggle. It's just a matter of how you schedule it.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. So like in being here where I am now, the mental piece started with, okay, therapy is happening. It kicked off in August. And it was necessary to just like let some shit out. I remember asking my therapist, like, so what are we supposed to do here? How am I supposed to prepare for this? Always thinking, like I'm always prepping versus just letting it flow. And that throws back to my rearing and being the oldest of 7 and taking on that identity and not knowing how to have fun. Yeah. Not knowing how to play, not knowing how to rest. Talking about self-care is bae, but girl, you ain't doing that shit. You cheating on bae with busy, and so so that's what ended up starting happening and started thinking about like, okay, when it comes to my mental and being busy, like right now, my schedule actually flows very well compared to what it used to be because now I have boundaries. So to be busy, you have to have boundaries. To be busy, you have to be able to say no. To be busy, you also have to have time to rest and play.
You cover a lot of great points, and I hope the listeners rewind it and listen to it again, because you're essentially talking about being okay with switching your therapist, like understanding that and recognizing that, am I really committing to this? Am I really doing the work with this to now you're saying I had to really figure out who I was
Mm-hmm.
and what I was able to give to the world, and recognize that I have to put me first.
That's the part.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a huge point to make, as far as like putting yourself first. Like, that job would always be there, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't care about you like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you have to be able to say, all right, I need to go to the doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and stop your work and go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I love the fact that you're taking it and telling the listeners like giving them the full scope of everything, even talking about your major surgery. That's so huge that a lot of women, especially in the Black community, deal with fibroids.
Man.
And they're just starting to talk about it more in the media and on
Facts.
television shows.
Facts.
And so I love the fact that you're just being open and honest about it. I think I saw it on your Instagram too,
Yeah.
where you were posting photos about it. And it took me a while because I had to read,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh shoot, is she doing this now?
Get a whole email.
So I had to like go back and reread,
Yeah.
and I saw that, okay, this is what you were going through at that time and at that moment. But it takes someone really, really brave and comfortable with who they are and understanding their purpose and their voice to be able to share something so powerful as that.
And I received that. So I want to first thank you as a woman of color and shouting that out from, I received that, and I acknowledge you for being able to acknowledge me because it was tough. And I was angry for some time. I was like, yo, why me? Why am I, going through this, and why does this have to be? And I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Like, I was one of those people who for 10 years I suffered with this, but 3 years ago when I found out, I didn't realize the impact of what it was doing to me. And then I was afraid because my mom wasn't here, right? I couldn't talk to her about it. So I started asking people, again, me and my questions. I started asking people, and then next thing you know, I found out my barber, and then like the people down the street, and then this woman over the corner, and then even my like aunt, like you got what? I'm going to events and I'm talking about it. Yeah, I'm getting prepared for my surgery. You got what? Oh yeah, we don't talk about it because we're ashamed. No. So we're not going to do that, because our babies, going back to them, need to know to be able to ask those questions and also push through. But the bravery really connects back to my mother, because my mom dealt with so much that she was metastatic. She had metastatic stage 4 breast cancer for 4 years. Not 4 years, 19 years. No, not everyone knew that. And she showed up all the time. But she also struggled. She was in pain. She was hurt. She was depressed. But she showed up. And she showed up all the time. That's some bullshit. I think I can say that, right? It's just like, my bad. That's a BS. Because why we gotta struggle? Why we out here struggling in these streets? And so really being able to share that as a moment of like, kind of, you don't have to struggle, and you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah, and I think there's a bigger point to make, that you don't have to struggle by yourself.
Facts.
So speaking of like how you put everything together and put it out there on social media, one of the main focuses of the podcast is social currency. So social currency is building social networks to gain access, influence, resources, and networking in the digital space.
Got it.
That affects a person online and offline. And with your social media, you have over 2,000 followers. You're active a little bit on LinkedIn. You have your Twitter. But how has social media influenced or empowered what you're doing now?
So it's funny you say that, Brittany, because the social media stresses me out. And it has stressed me out more recently because of its own presence. Back in the day when I was on social media, back when it was just like Facebook, and I was like out here, boom, boom, boom,
it was fun.
It was fun. And then we got all this other stuff, and it's like, yo, I gotta focus, I gotta curate, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Oh wait, who am I? Shantae J? Oh wait, am I a brand? Am I am dope? Through that though, I've learned authenticity is key.
Yeah, say it again for the people.
Authenticity is key for the people in the back. And that's the game-changing part. So using social media, I had to also, and it's kind of like being drowned in, I focused on marketing when I got my MBA. And social media was a part of that too. And really understanding that it wasn't about the numbers for me. And it hasn't been, right? To have like 2,000 followers. I haven't been pushing to become an influencer. Shout out to the influencers. But I've yet I am an influencer to people, right? So leading in my story and really understanding what I'm curating has everything to do with storytelling, which I'm passionate about. Yo, I want to know your story, baby. Your story matters. So in order for me to be able to open up and design spaces, safe spaces, I have to share who I am. I'll share who I am. I'll give you a little something, and talk to you because God talks through me in ways to empower others. And I'll share a bit of my life as well. And in doing that, I hope, here's the other thing, I hope you feel it. I realize people do. So when I took a break from like July to like, I did it before where I took a social media break. I realized people start hitting me up, ding, 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 in the text message like, hey, are you okay? Haven't seen you in a while. I miss you. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And I think people realize that once, you know, when you're on social media and you take a break, which I suggest you do, take breaks because it helps. It also supports the social capital piece and the social currency because the social networking is truly an opportunity in spaces to share what you're doing and how, right? So Facebook is a lot of people on there who love me, a lot of people from me growing up, family, friends. So the things that I share and I'm curating on Facebook, it can end up on Instagram, but Instagram I'm just getting back into. And I've been trying to figure out that groove as well. It's like, okay, cool. So the Shantae J. That's me, right? Yeah. It used to be a whole lot of other people. So it used to be Shantae. It used to be I Am Dope. It used to be the consulting. Now I'm shifting gears and saying, I want to show more of me. And here's my personal story that I'm showing from Facebook. And so going back to the question is around the social currency and social networking. It's helped me as a tool to share my story and to allow other people who care. Yeah. Like, and these are people I know. Like when people follow me, these are those 2,500 people on Instagram. I know them. They know me. We know we cross paths in some type of capacity where you're seeing me. And even if you're not because of the algorithm clicking on my situation, damn them algorithms. You find it eventually, right? And then when you find it, you're like, oh, I didn't know. I know. Yeah. And so the last piece around social networking is that it has allowed me to update people and have them feel close to me because I am a recovering phoneaholic. That's not even a word. I'm a
it's okay.
I struggle.
You like to talk on the phone?
No, I don't. See, that's the part. That's what I was trying to work out. I haven't been good at the phone, or text message or getting back. My text game is weak. And no, it's gotten better. It used to be that I was so busy, queer quotes, doing other things that I wasn't making space for other people. And so social networking has supported people being updated around my life. It also has encouraged me to create more authentic relationships in person.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're talking about authenticity because in order to be authentic on social media, you really have to know yourself. Facts. You really have to understand who you are, what you want, what makes you happy. Because people can read through your smile, they can read through your catchy captions, and they can see that and they can feel that. So I love the fact that you're saying my focus on my social is just to be authentic and share more of myself.
Me.
And you never know who you're empowering or whose life you're changing because people think that social media is just like within their state, within their local environment. But social media is global.
Facts.
Like I have people from Australia like that follow me and like love the podcast. I have people in like Sweden. So it's like really understanding that social media is one of those platforms for you to really use your voice, tell your story, but then show your authenticity, show your true self.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you have had so many experiences from when you were younger trying to figure everything out to being exposed to opportunities to go to school, to living in D.C., everything that happened with your mom and your family, your brother, all the way to moving to New York and really experiencing that serious moment in your life with the surgery, but then out of that you found more of yourself and you found more of your voice. So of all of those experiences, what one piece of advice would you place on a post-it on your desk for yourself?
Woo, shit. Oh my gosh. that's like levels to that. One piece of advice.
On
a post-it. I like post-its. On a post-it. They make me happy.
To yourself.
To myself. Dear self, I love you. I see you. I adore you. I value you. You matter. Always. You are enough right now. Period.
I love it. And watch her TED Talk because she mentions a lot of that again. Mm-hmm. I think we both had a lot of champagne, so I'm not going to ask you to repeat that unless you got it.
I don't got it, so we're just going to leave that. Rewind. I know I said some things, yourself.
Yeah, you have to rewind it and listen to what she put on that Post-it. I love it because I think your whole message behind that just makes sense. Like knowing that you are enough and that you matter.
Right now, baby.
Yes.
And and I want to stress that right now because in TED Talk, it really is important that you sit in the present. And that's the other thing about being busy and thinking about social networking and social currency and capital and relationship and authenticity. I've learned the importance of being present.
Oh, God. That's something that I'm learning with my therapist right now is being present. And it's so important. It's a big difference.
Wait, shout out for a moment. Black women talking about therapy as it's just a regular conversation. Let's just say yes. Yes.
It's important. Yeah. Like, I'm a huge advocate of mental health and taking care of yourself. Yeah. And so one of the things that we focus on right now that I'm really diving into is just being present. Whew. Like taking in all of the emotions, anything that you feel, taking in the senses, and really just not thinking, all right, 10 minutes from now, what do I have to do? An hour from now, what do I have to do? Next week, what do I have to do? And just really focusing on the here and the now. Oh, my gosh. What is it that's going on? Mm-hmm. And I don't think people talk enough about that because being busy is not cool. Like back in the day when we were growing up, it was deemed cool because of television. Television is a very powerful medium. Mm-hmm. And I can talk all day about television and media. You guys know that. But what I want people to understand is busy is not cool, right? Busy is whack, right? Whack. Because you're not busy. You're kind of like using that as a mask for either not really taking time for yourself or avoiding something that's bigger.
So I want to push back, right? Yeah. I think the context of busy has been overused. However, being busy is something, right? So right now we're busy. We're busy doing something, right? We're doing something productive. Right. And so the word busy has been taken out of context and has been used as an excuse or a mask. However, there is some legitimacy to being busy because technically, if I'm getting a call right now and somebody trying to hit me up, I'm busy.
Yeah. I can't answer.
And so that is kind of more around the communication and the clarification around what busy means.
Yes. Yeah. Because when I was in corporate America, people use busy all the time. And I took it as, like, I would see them and I would ask them about something. And they were like, yeah, just tell her I'm busy. But they ain't doing nothing. Mm-hmm. They are not doing anything. They eating lunch, but not really lunch. It's just snacks, pistachios, right? Just munching. But you don't want to talk to this young lady that's interested in being an intern or help this young man that's struggling with this tech aspect, right? So I used to look at busy as meaning, like, I do not want to make time for you.
Ooh, shit.
And I'll say that again. I used to look at busy to mean I will not make time for you. Mm-hmm. So I love the fact that you did push back because it allowed clarification for the listeners. Yeah.
And then and to add to that quickly is that because of the 4 agreements and the second agreement being around, don't take anything personally.
Yes.
Right? And don't make assumptions is the 3rd agreement. So don't take anything personally and don't make assumptions. The clarity on that, like, that's some good shit. Like, that's that next level of, hey, you know what? Because you don't want to make time for me, actually, let me not even think of that. Mm-hmm. If you say you're busy, okay, you're busy. That's fine. And like the lightness that goes into that, it supports being able to see that it's not about you.
Right. You got to check your ego.
Yeah, true that.
Because you have the big ego and the little ego. You got to figure out which one it is. Mm-hmm. I love this, and we can talk all day about this, but we have a structure to keep. Facts. So right now, we're about to enter the speed round. This is that round where everybody's like, let me take a drink.
Just a drink.
So in the speed round, I'm just going to shoot off a few questions.
Set up.
Whatever answer comes to mind, and however you perceive that question, just go ahead and respond.
Stay ready, so I have to get ready. All right, cool.
You ready? All right. So, first question. What gets you out of bed?
God.
I like that. Quick. Favorite band, group, or artist?
Aaliyah.
Favorite drink?
I want to say a Jameson neat.
Oh, wow. All right. Jameson neat. And for those who don't drink, neat means just straight up.
All right. Nothing
in there. No ice, no juice, nothing. Just boom, a shot in a glass. All right. Role models.
My mother.
Luxury item.
My Apple Watch.
Favorite food.
Spinach.
Really? Like Popeye?
Like Popeye.
All
since
right.
I was young.
Nice. Favorite country to visit.
Italy.
Best way to give back.
Love.
Retirement place.
I want to say a couple places. Australia, Chicago, and somewhere in Cali in Florida.
Okay, I like that. That's
places,
a variety. Yeah,
plural.
Places. So I imagine having homes.
Homes.
In each one of those places.
Plural. I'm wealthy.
Cartoon.
Anastasia. Because of Aaliyah. Heart don't fail me now.
Oh my gosh, everybody go watch that. It's a very interesting movie. Drama.
Oh, what's levels to that? I can't think of anything. Drama. Ugh, I watch so much TV. Oh my gosh, what's happening? I'm frozen. Wait, hold on. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3.
Drama.
Good Trouble.
Good Trouble. What is that?
It's a TV series. Or 911.
Okay, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Good Trouble. I had to look in that. Comedy.
Martin.
Mm-hmm. All right. And the last question. What is happiness?
Happiness is waking up every day and knowing that God loves you. You are meant to be here. You have a purpose and you matter always.
Yes. Beautiful. So before we close out, this is your time. Is there anything you would like the listeners to know?
That you're beautiful. You're a beautiful human. Currently, I'm working on a few projects. One of them includes public speaking training, and you can check it out at ShantaeJConsulting.com. Again, that's ShantaeJConsulting.com. And I'm really working with a lot of people to support their fear around speaking in rooms. And so my approach is around speaking in any rooms. So public speaking training and also some consultation. Just hit up ShantaeJConsulting.com. Go check it out and rock with me.
Like it. So thank you for being on the show. I had tons of fun. You dropped a lot of gems that I hope people rewind or re-listen to the episode to catch. Tell the people how to follow you or contact you outside of the website.
Yo, find me on Instagram at the Shantae J. That's just me in my life, in my personal life. You want to see my receipts? Follow me at Shantae J Consulting. That's SHANTAE J Consulting. You see that? Bars.
Yeah.
Always. You can also look up me on Facebook too for Shantae J Consulting, and anywhere on the interwebs. LinkedIn, want to be my friend? Yo, let's talk about some professional things. I got you. Shantae, SHANTAE J. It stands for something. Last name Edwards. Shantae J Edwards. Yeah, that J is real strong, B. I can't give it to you, but you be my friend. You ask me and I tell you, maybe. Holla.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much.
Facts.
Appreciate it.
Gratitude.